Hello, listeners. This is Kat, and welcome back to Put Your Hands Up Podfics. This will be the continuation of the Roundabout Way of Fate. This will be Part 22, Chapter 15, entitled The Fire. The first match of the battle tournament is between Asui and the purple-haired boy from General Studies, whose name is apparently Shinso Hitoshi. He's curious as to what his quirk is, but he doesn't get to see it, because as soon as the match starts, Asui flicks out her tongue and wraps it around Shinso's waist, flinging him out of bounds. It's an awfully swift defeat, and Izuku spares a wince of pity for the other boy as he claps for his classmate. Shinso seemed so determined to get into the hero course. It's kind of unfortunate that he got taken down so easily. But perhaps it was just a bad matchup. Or Izuku reconsiders as he watches Asui turn away without a single ounce of remorse on her face. Perhaps he shouldn't have pissed off Class 1A. The next match has the crowd roaring with excitement. It's only natural. Todoroki has taken first place in the preliminary events. He'd probably make sports festival history if he won in all three competitions. Izuku feels a little bad for Sero. Despite being friends with the boy, Todoroki is the most powerful student in Class 1A for a reason. Hopefully the fight won't be as short as the last one. Start! Actually, it turns out to be even shorter. The crowd is dead quiet. A massive glacier stands in the middle of the arena, jagged spikes jutting over the top of the stadium. It groans under its own weight, and even in the infirmary, Izuku can feel how cold the air has suddenly gotten. Everyone, including Izuku, stares in awe at the evidence of Todoroki's sheer power. At the very bottom of the glacier, Sero stands nearly completely frozen in ice. Don't you think that's a bit much? His voice is tiny over the TV screen. Recovery Girl lets out a whoosh of air. I'll repeat myself. There is something to be said about brute force. Even she sounds impressed. Then she huffs. But this boy is giving us an awful lot of frostbite to deal with. Izuku doesn't respond. Too busy watching as Todoroki moves towards Sero the moment the victory is announced. The boy stands under the eyes of the crowd shouting condolences for his defeated opponent, melting what he had frozen himself with his left hand. There's no triumph in his posture, however. No, even though Izuku can't see his face, something about Todoroki seems very sad to him. Ah, well. Recovery Girl tisks a moment later, catching his attention once more. I'll go ahead and see to that poor boy. Stay here in case anyone comes by. You know the drill. Izuku nods, noticing that Sero is looking a little stiff as he's finally freed from his icy prison. Once the glacier is melted, Present Mike announces a brief hiatus while the stage dries off. Izuku turns away from the screen, frowning. That was certainly an impressive display of power from Todoroki. Unnecessary, though. He could have defeated Sero with a much smaller attack, so what prompted him to show off like that? He gets his answer when Todoroki walks through the door again a few minutes later, this time without knocking. He's glaring at the ground, and his jaw is clenched, but he looks up when he sees Izuku. The freckled boy pauses, taking him in. A thin layer of frost coats his right side, spanning across his skin and creeping onto his cheek. Looking closer, Izuku also realizes that he's shivering ever so slightly. Todoroki doesn't seem like he's going to move any closer, so Izuku gets up and slowly approaches him. Mismatched eyes watch him for a moment, then drop. Saw my old man before the match, he says quietly, as Izuku comes to stand in front of him. Told me to stop being childish and to focus on surpassing All Might. Izuku gazes at him, then looks at his nearly frozen right side. He can't see his skin, but he has no doubt that there's frostbite. His hand reaches for his arm, but the layer of ice prevents him from making skin contact. He hesitates. Todoroki-kun, you need to unfreeze yourself. Todoroki acts like he doesn't hear him. His fist clenches. I got angry. He hisses through clenched teeth. His gaze is still averted. Todoroki-kun, Izuku says, gently putting a hand on his shoulder to make him look at him. You're going to hurt yourself. I need you to warm yourself up. Todoroki inhales shakily through his nose, and when he exhales, a cold puff of air brushes Izuku's curls. He's never seen his classmate look so ruffled before. It doesn't show on his face, but he can see the swirling turmoil of emotions in his eyes. He seems lonely, so terribly, miserably lonely, and maybe that's why he told Izuku about his past. Maybe that's why he's come to him now, because he's the only one who knows, because he just needed someone to understand. It must be so horribly isolating to have to go through what Todoroki has gone through all on his own. He always seems so stoic, but maybe he just needs a friend. Todoroki stares at him for a few moments, slowly breathing in and out. Gradually, the ice on his body starts to melt away, revealing red, irritated skin. It's not as bad as Izuku thought it would be, but he reaches out to heal it anyways. Todoroki steps back after a second. Neither of them speak right away. Todoroki's eyes are still troubled, switching back and forth between quiet distress and cold fury. Izuku takes a deep, steadying breath. Then, I'm sorry about everything that's happened to you, he says, keeping his voice soft. But I still think you should use your fire. Todoroki's jaw clenches. Weren't you listening to what I said? I don't need his power to win. I refuse to let myself be controlled by him. But you are, Izuku insists. He has no idea what he's doing, but All Might told him to do what his heart tells him, so he's going to listen, even if it's not what Todoroki wants to hear. You are letting yourself be controlled by him. You're letting him hold you back. This hatred you hold for him is only going to hurt you. It's not that simple. Todoroki glowers. I know it's not. I know there's a lot more to it, and I know there's probably a lot I still don't know about, Izuku admits. I don't think I'll ever truly understand what you've gone through, but you're letting him become a weakness. If you keep this up, if you ignore this other half of you, all you're going to do is hurt yourself. You know you're susceptible to frostbite. You need the heat to negate the effects. You could be so much stronger if you just... Don't! Todoroki suddenly snaps, pulling away. Don't say that. Don't sound like him. Izuku pauses, holding up his hands placatingly. Todoroki watches him with narrowed eyes for a tense moment, but it doesn't seem like he's about to run away. Slowly, carefully, Izuku continues. I'm just going to say this. Everyone out there is giving it their best to ignore half of yourself, to only fight with half of your power. It's incredibly disrespectful to your peers. Everyone has worked so hard to get to this point. How do you think it would feel if someone beat you with one of their hands tied behind their back? Todoroki's eyes flash, but he says nothing. Izuku takes a deep breath. I get that you want to spite your father by winning the sports festival without your fire, but how far will that take you? How far will spite and anger take you? Will you be a hero fueled by those negative emotions? Because let me tell you something, Todoroki-kun. If that's the case, then you're going to become just like your father. It's harsh, and Izuku hates saying it, but it's necessary. Todoroki inhales sharply, and for a moment, a brief flash of anger passes over his face. He opens his mouth to retort, or yell, or curse, but nothing comes out. He just keeps staring at Izuku with wide, unreadable eyes. He needs to end this. "I know you hate your father, Todoroki-kun," Izuku whispers. "But you shouldn't hate your quirk, too." Todoroki's breath hitches. "It's not," he stutters. His power, I won't." That catches Izuku's attention. "It's not his power," he says firmly. "It's yours, isn't it? That's why your body aches for the heat it knows is there. That's why denying this half of yourself will only get you hurt, will only make you weak." He gives him a weak, sad smile. "And that is how Endeavor is still controlling you." Silence follows his words. Todoroki stares at him, his face going slack. He's completely still, not moving a single inch as he stays rooted to the spot, his eyes never leaving Izuku's for a second. He looks... God, Izuku can't even describe the expression on his face, but it doesn't matter, because in the next moment, he lets out a slow, shaky exhale, as if he'd been holding his breath for minutes. As the air escapes his lips, steam starts rising off the left side of his body. Izuku smiles. "You can do it," he says softly. Todoroki's throat clicks as he swallows. Then, a small flame flickers to life on his left forearm, soon joined by another, then another, until a thin line of flames is dancing along his arm, curling around his shoulder, and flitting between his fingers. Another shuddering sigh. His hand clenches. The flames go out. I can't." His voice rasps, and he coughs slightly to clear it. "I can't control it." "That's fine," Izuku says. "You'll learn, like we all do." Holding his gaze, Todoroki slowly nods. He still looks uncertain, but it's enough. Not much is said between them after that. They kind of just stand there for a while, Izuku waiting patiently as Todoroki works through whatever thoughts and emotions he's battling with now. His brows are furrowed as he looks at the ground, but he occasionally glances back up at Izuku, expression unreadable. Soon, the familiar pitter-patter of Recovery Girl's footsteps approaches from the hall, dragging them both out of their reverie. The door slides open, and his mentor startles when she sees both of them standing there. Before she can say anything, however, Todoroki bows his head politely and steps past her. He glances back at Izuku one last time before the door closes, and when their eyes meet, he can hear Todoroki's wordless response clearly. "Thank you." All right, listeners, this concludes the first half to Chapter 15. The second half to this chapter will be up next. Curious to hear what you all are thinking of the continued progression of the sports festival and these dynamics between Izuku and Todoroki. Some more depth to their relationships, and even though Izuku's not fighting against Todoroki in the sports festival, he still takes on the role, like in the original series itself and in canon, where he is able to kind of push Todoroki to be able to use his fire during the sports festival. So it's a different way that it's taking place, but Izuku's still taking that role on and trying to help Todoroki, since he's the only person who really understands what's going on right now. So again, please let me know your thoughts, your reactions in the comments below, and as always, thank you all so much for listening.